What's up everyone, my name is Rosendo, welcome to my channel. This is my first video here where I'm going to be breaking down one of my tracks. I've been making short form content for a while now, but I really wanted to make some long form content. I just think that's something I would like more. I really like diving into the details, being very specific and kind of breaking down the whole process of how I do things, hopefully to inspire some people and to making their tracks. So we're gonna make a video breaking down my Fake ID Tech House remix. Again, it's gonna be pretty detailed, so we can really get to the nitty gritty of what I did and why I did what I did. This remix is available for a free download as well on SoundCloud through HypeEdit. There's a link there. I'll link it in the description as well. So for any DJs out there, this Fake ID track by Written and Kahlo is pretty popular. It has a lot of streams. So definitely make sure if you to download it if you want to include it in your sets. Again, it's a tech house remix. So a lot of groove, pretty easy going. So link in bio for the download. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. So this Fake ID remix was one of the first tracks I released that I shared with the world. It's pretty simple. It's not that complex. Again, since it's a remix, everything kind of moves around the vocals, and it's tech house, so it's just some elements here and there. It's also, since it's one of the first tech house tracks I made, it's actually the first tech house track I made. Obviously, maybe I could have done a few things a little bit better, right? But it's still, for a minimalistic, I wanted it to be a minimalistic track, and it is. I enjoy it. There's a lot of cool things that are going on here. So let's get straight into it. Again, this is a pretty popular song. I think it has about 100 million or 200 million streams on Spotify, the original. I want to say it's closer to like 180 million, I think. So again, if you want to download it and play it in your sets for any DJs, definitely go ahead. Link in bio, a good idea. Link in the description, sorry. So it starts out like a pretty normal tech house track, kind of like an extended mix, right? Just the drums and the kicks going in. Standard kick, F sharp is the key that we're in right here. And clap, 3 hi-hats layered on top of each other. High pass claps, nothing crazy. Right, and just like most tech house tracks, after 8 bars, it goes into kind of into another 8 bars where you get a little bit more. The bass line comes in. You have an added bass line here. We're gonna break this down in a second. But kick is pretty standard. 2 claps layered on top of each other, right, that you can hear right here. This one's actually a loop that I kind of just took the clap out of. And then you have 4 hi-hats here. The first one's kind of that main hit that you get, that you kind of hear, has, you know, that sharpness to it. This one is a little bit more full, almost has a little bit more roomy, right? You have a wide one that's panned pretty hard to both sides, and then you have this shaker hi-hat that gets introduced after these the initial 8 bars right here, that gives it that groove that you hear in a lot of tech house tracks, like that really open hi-hat, again, almost like a shaker type feeling. And I actually took the transients out of it because I really just wanted it for that shaker, right? And again, this track isn't that complicated. We have only a few patterns here. Really, this main bass line is really the only pattern. There's this added bass line that you're gonna hear is gonna be automated in as we go. Right, so whenever I felt like there needed to be some more movement, you'll hear this added bass line filter down and then slowly be brought in right here. These vocals are coming in right here. You hear that bass line right about now. And that's the intro. The other thing about this track is, because it's a remix, right, the acapella I found on Beatport. I was looking for tracks by the vocalist because I had heard her vocals in other house tracks. I found Fake ID had a lot of streams. I saw it was pretty popular, and I saw that there was an acapella available on Beatport. So I went ahead and bought it, and I decided I wanted to make a remix out of it. Now, one of the cool things about this remix is that I wanted to kind of make it feel like you were had those elements of the original track. So you'll see that there's these acapella chops kind of placed all throughout the song. The original acapella kind of has these almost like ad libs added in there, where you hear the vocalist kind of add these things like this, right? Where you just kind of get these extra little tidbits of vocals, right, that are kind of thrown throughout the track, just to add some cool stuff in the original, which I decided to kind of crop out of the original and just place them throughout the place. Even here in this intro, right, you hear the filter check a Fake ID, right, that kind of gives it that intro feeling that we'd hear with a reverse reverb right into the main vocals. Right, so I guess the first verse starts, right, high pass kick right there, kick comes in, and we drop a few drums, right, we drop the clap, we drop the shaker hi-hat to make it feel like we're getting straight into it. Vocals are the main kind of right in the front. Pretty standard stuff. 4 bars in, double kick, you hear that vocal, you hear these. claps come back in, shaker hi-hat comes back in. Again, pretty standard stuff, and then we go into the build-up. Again, build-up is pretty standard here, high passing the kick, high passing the clap, high passing a few of the hi-hats here, looks like it, with the snare built high passing the bass line as well, with the snare being filtered down and coming back in. Nothing crazy, pretty standard stuff. You hear this atmosphere actually playing as well the entire time. Not the entire time, but it's kind of in there. Other than that, nothing crazy about the build-up, just pretty standard stuff. Again, minimalistic house track, but with all the elements kind of in the right place, it always feels like the track is moving forward, right? Drums being taken down, drums being added back in, things like that. Everything gets dropped. And into the drop. Right, this drop, this other pattern is pretty much the only other pattern in here, although it's more of an effect. It's really just a saw lead that gets filtered in and out, right? A few crashes here and there. But again, just one note here, and that lead is actually coming out of Citrus. I like Citrus. It's actually one of the first synths I started using when I first started producing, because obviously I didn't have any, any of the, I would say, industry standard synths. So I must have just gone through Citrus looking for a cool saw lead, and I found this one. Again, this was I actually had a lot of synths when I made this track, but every once in a while I like to go back to Citrus. Back in the when I first started producing in 2019, I think in 2018, I was pretty much only using this this VST. Obviously now I'm sticking with the serums and the spires of it all. But I pulled this one out of Citrus. A pretty cool saw lead, against filtered in for the drop. Right here, not filtered, automated, I should say. Right, and again, in this drop, especially the first half of the drop, you get all these, like I said, these ad-libs, these glitches that are in the original that really make it feel like you're still listening to the original. It's a remix of it, but it doesn't just feel like you're listening to a tech house track with the acapella thrown on top of it. It feels like you're listening to, the genuine original track with all the elements that are still in it. These glitches, these ad-libs that are thrown in there. Again, you'll hear them in the drop all over the place. It's really nice. It gives it more life to the track. And actually, this part is has a delay on it right here that's put into a send. So about 4 bars later, you'll hear the kind of the coke with the rum come back in right here. Right, again with a little bit of fills here and there. Right, the added bass line comes back in. Right, and because it's the first tech house track I made, I was going for a minimalistic tech house track. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of those tracks with the really heavy perks and the really heavy groove. I probably would have added a few extra elements, now that going back, kind of looking back, there are a few extra hits here and there, right? With things like this, double hi-hats here and there, right? So it does have definitely some groove, plus with the ad-libs. Maybe I would have added a little bit more, but again, since it's a minimalistic track, not a lot going on there intentionally, right? And then we come in over here. Let's take that out. Let's come on over here, and then the acapella comes back. Get a ride going to really get the movement going once the acapella comes back. Double claps. And a few more glitches and effects here in the second part of the drop. So again, really give it that movement before we go into the second verse. Now drums stay exactly the same, the ride gets taken away, but we go straight into the second verse, right? Bassline stays the same, just to again give it that feeling that it's moving forward with this new acapella that we haven't heard yet being played. Hear that transition over here, right? From another part of the acapella that gets taken out and played right here. Sorry, a lot of delay on there. But again, everything's kind of moving in one direction. Right, acapella comes in, drums are still playing, get taken out, hear that added bass, and then things just keep moving forward, because this acapella is again pretty groovy, pretty popular. And then here we go, the next part of the track. And one of the things I really like about this, again, everything's pretty intentional here, right? Since we've already heard this acapella part before, right? 369 over here, right? One of the things I like doing is whenever you've already heard something before, is I always like to add a new element just to prevent things from staying stale. And you'd be surprised, a lot of tracks actually don't do this. They kind of get used to having, let's say, verse 1 sound exactly like verse 2. But since we've already heard this, and the second the second verse just has so much movement with, you go straight from the drop drums into, drop drums stay there, they get taken out, these risers, these crashes, straight there, and then once you get to this part, the ride comes in, right, really keeps things moving forward. extra claps. Straight kick gets dropped straight into the build-up. High pass kick, nothing else high pass except for the bass line. You're gonna hear this bass line, the other bass line, get filtered in again right here. White noise riser. No snare drum here even, right? A little bit of a fill, right? But you don't get that that snare drum build-up. You just get the bass line as the getting filtered in. You get the snare drum, the riser. Fill, I should say, the riser or drop drums stay the same, and we go straight into the second drop with a little bit of a different automation, I believe. Can't remember if it's the exact same. It should be a different automation. Yeah, it's a different automation on this lead, right? So it gives it a little bit more of a different feeling. Drop drums are the same. You hear all these effects come in. Right there. You got the echo right in the middle again, and you're going back into this vocal right here. Lead comes back though, right? Since we already heard that vocal, this sustained kind of hit comes in again with these effects. Pretty similar, but with that lead as the differentiator this time. And into the outro. Acapella we haven't heard yet. That's actually, this part of the song lends itself really well to the outro. I believe it's the last part of the song. Drums are there, right? Shaker, hi-hat is also there, right? But everything's in here except for the ride, right? That ride actually gets added here again as well. But right here, we got the outro, new acapella, bass line still there. Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe it gets high pass here at the end. And then again, pretty standard outro. Kick gets high passed, and we're in a pretty standard outro phase here. But we're about to high pass the bass and some hi-hats right there. Plus, with this extra added bass at the end, really gives it that extra touch. So overall, again, pretty standard track. You'll see a sub bass over here at the end. I had that at first, and then I took it out. The added bass is there, white noise riser. Again, it's really just this bass line here with an added bass line, the drop lead, and the white noise riser that was there really only at one part right here. Still pretty cool effect, but again, not a lot of patterns, only 42 mixer tracks. But everything is pretty intentional here, right? The effects are all in the right place, and things just kind of keep moving, even for a minimalistic track that doesn't have, a lot of percussion, a lot of groove in it. But just, in my eyes, the right decision and the right kind of placement of things, the right small little touches here and there just make all the difference and really just make the track come to life and always feel like it's moving. It could be moving up, it could be moving down, but it's always kind of moving in a direction versus kind of taking you back to something you already heard before, right? Even something as simple as, adding a ride right here. Adding a ride right here when we've already heard an area. In an area where we've already heard the vocal, or adding an extra lead right here, adding an extra drop effect, right, when we've already heard this. So again, these little details make all the difference in my eyes, and that's one of the things that I really like including in my tracks. Just making sure things are feeling unique and always kind of progressing. I value progress a lot in my production. It's one of the kind of the themes I focus on, and no matter what I make. So that's pretty much it. Again, one last reminder that this track is available for free download. Link in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I hope to be breaking down a lot more things in my other tracks. And one of the things you'll notice is that my production kind of changes a lot as we go forward. I mean, even in my discography, you have something like this, which isn't really on my in my discography because it's not on my Spotify. But you have something like this. You go into a bass house track again, another minimalistic track, and you'll just see as we keep breaking down my tracks how things change from something like this, essentially my first track, to even my more recent releases. Some of the organization usually stays the same, right? I always like to have my drums in yellow, bass in blue. Effects in orange, but you're going to see that there's going to be a few more things added, more plugins. I didn't break down a lot of plugins here, but everything's pretty standard, right? Drum buses, all that stuff, maybe some reverb and compression here and there. A lot of EQing, pretty much everything has an EQ on it. You have the bass line again, mostly you can see right here, Kickstart. I love Kickstart. I love sidechain. I throw sidechain on pretty much anything. But again, mostly EQ. There's pretty much there's not much you're going to find here. Some reverb here and there, and again, some things for automation thrown in. Only 42 mixer tracks. But hopefully in other tracks, you're going to see a little bit more of the kind of mixing decisions I made. Here, it's pretty standard stuff. Even the vocal doesn't have a lot of processing on it because, again, I believe it's the wet vocal, so there's not much I needed to do here. A little bit of OTT and EQ, probably some sends here, delay, like a delay send, other things like that. But pretty standard stuff. So again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. More videos like this to come, and that's about it. So thank you for watching.